Hey guys, today is day 4 of 365, to where we are going to read a passage from a couple books. But I wanted to start this one out a little bit differently. Something that's been weighing heavy on my mind that maybe one of you all need to hear this. So I've been thinking, a friend said it on Facebook, but I'd already been thinking it. Basically, 6 months from now, so let's say June or July, you're going to think to yourself, man, I wish I would have done this sooner. So procrastination is about probably one of my worst vices. I'll get stuff done, just sometimes I wait till the last minute, or it takes me forever to do it, admittedly. I guess sometimes I work better when I know there's a hard deadline, and I'll wait till the end of that deadline, and I shouldn't do that. So think of something, and this is where I don't want to say struggling, because there's several things in my head, but I'm trying to think of what is the most important thing that in June or July I'll be like, man, I wish I would have started that sooner. Now, funny enough, this video series is something that I wish I would have started sooner, and I kept waiting until January 1st, not because it was a new year, but because of the way the books work, January 1 through December 31, whatever. So without further ado, I'll leave you to ponder that. We will flip this camera around and we'll read today's lessons. If today is your first day watching, every day we'll have this. Depending on where you're watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's in a playlist, so you can go back and start at day 1. If you're looking at this on Facebook, it's actually an album. You can click on the name of the album. I believe it's just titled 365 Days of Courage, and you can go back and watch from the beginning. As I've said in the previous days, and I'll say before, these are Christian-based books. I myself do not consider myself Christian, but typically they have a good message, and typically also you can take away a message that doesn't have to be faith-based, and it's still some good information. This one, yes, it does say 2022. This was from last year. Originally had started, I don't remember exactly how I was doing it. I think I was just reading it and making a post that I read it. But this, obviously we're videoing, this is my voice. And then the Have 'em All is the words of the High One, the All-Father, Odin. The way I do this is I read in this way. So if you are a Christian and you don't want to read or hear the words from the Norse God, understand. If you are Christian or if you're not Christian and don't want to hear the Christian verses, then you can just skip ahead to the end. We don't do, I'll usually do a couple passages, maybe a page or two, just depending on how I'm feeling. But let's get started. So today is January 4th. And obviously we're starting over here. People of perseverance. As an example, brothers and sisters, of suffering and patience, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. James 5:10. When we need a boost of courage to face our own challenges, it can be helpful to look to the examples of others who have experienced and come through their own. Let's take a look at those who have persevered through trials. Their endurance may give us courage and strength to conquer our own. Oh, that it were possible to wake up one day and find all our troubles have disappeared. This is not the way of life, however. The messy middle is where our character is redefined and pain cannot be avoided. Instead of running from the suffering we can never escape, let's gather the courage to persist in faith through it, taking it a day at a time with the powerful essence of God as our strength. Your act of courage for today. Instead of distracting yourself from the pain in your life, ask God to meet you in the midst of it and give you the strength to persevere. Look to the testimonies of others who have learned the practice of patience, of patient endurance, and consider what you can learn from them. The second part. Now, these days obviously don't match up because this is a book from last year. What sustains you? The tempter came to him and said, "If you are a son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Matthew 4:3-4. In Jesus' moment of physical weakness, the tempter tried to instill doubt in his mind. How would Jesus respond to a challenge to prove that he was God's beloved son? The trick linked both his physical and spiritual hunger as he longed for both food and for God's support in his time of trial. How do you handle moments of discouragement, doubt, or even weakness? It's certainly a temptation to demand some kind of proof from God. At the very least, you surely want a solution to your problem, a concrete fix for the short term that also assures you of God's presence and care. Yet your relationship with God amounts to more than answers to prayer or proof of his care. Seeing the short-term fix won't really lead to an abundant life in the long run. Jesus promised that you can rest in the promises of God, the scriptures, and even the ways God may be revealed through your situation. This is where long-term perseverance and hope come from. And then I guess it ends with a prayer. Father, I trust you to guide and support me, and when I pass through times of want. So as far as what sustains you and persevering, I'm sure there's something in your life that you wish you could push through or you're struggling with pushing through. For me, it's just getting my house in order. And when I say my house, I mean physically the house I live in, getting my house in order, plus all my ducks in a row. I've grown tremendously as far as my social media presence with my outdoors channel, my Amazon. You'll never catch me calling myself an influencer, but Amazon calls their program the Amazon Influencer Program. I get so much stuff sent to me for free to do reviews on, and I'm just pushing through I'm kind of trying to build a studio, not build, but clean up a spot in the house to where I can make a studio. And it's been a bit much. And it's my fault for letting things get the way they are. But I'm just pushing through and trying to, I know that what can sustain me is knowing the end goal of what'll become of it. All right. And then the last one is just some words from the high one. Let's see. Yeah, I think okay, so page 10. A miserable man, and let me preface, if this is the first day you're watching this, some of this language is a little rough, and I don't mean like foul language like cuss words and stuff like this. This is translated from the original Norse and Icelandic to English, so some of these sentences are a little tough. Some of the words are a little bit tough, so just bear with me. A miserable man and ill-conditioned sneers at everything. One thing he knows not, which he ought to know, that is, he is not free from faults. A foolish man is all night awake, pondering over everything. He then grows tired, and when morning comes, all is lament as before. A foolish man thinks all who on him smile to be his friends. He feels it not, although they speak ill of him when he sits among the clever. A foolish man thinks all who speak him fair to be his friends, but he will find, if into court he comes, that he has a few advocates. Now, if you can get through the prose and the way this is listed, I think it's some pretty good stuff. You know, a foolish man, I'm guilty of this. I'll lay in bed at night, my brain just going 100 miles an hour, and it does me no good. The next day, if I'd have just got some rest, I would have been better off. A foolish man thinks he knows everything if placed in unexpected difficulty, but he knows not what to answer if to the test he is put. A foolish man who among people comes had best be silent, for no one knows that he knows nothing unless he talks too much. He who previously knew nothing will still know nothing, talk he ever so much. He thinks himself wise, who can ask questions and converse also. Conceal his ignorance no one can, because it circulates among men. He utters too many futile words who is never silent. A garrulous tongue, if it be not checked, sings often to its own harm. We'll stop with that today. This book's obviously nowhere near as thick, so we'll be through this one pretty quick. If you got any suggestions of what we should read in addition to these, I'm open to suggestions. Let me know in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, like the video if you like what I'm doing. If you're watching on Facebook, this is a public profile. You can follow me on here. If you're sending me a friend request, chances are I'm not going to accept a friend request unless I actually know you, but anybody can follow the page. drop a comment. We want to build a community here of building each other up. I don't want to say specifically men, but I am a man. I'm talking to men. And I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to build a friendship with women that I'm not already friends with. I'm married with children. You guys get it. So this is about helping men build up other men. And I'll see you guys here tomorrow, same time, same place.